What's up, rockers? Welcome to another episode of the Talk Louder podcast, where we geek out on all things rock and roll. Hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Leave us your likes and comments. You can also leave likes and comments on our Facebook page. Follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Instagram at talklouder_podcast. And of course, our website, talklouderpodcast.com, where you'll find links to our merch and all of our previous episodes. I'm Metal Dave, along with my co-host, Jason McMaster. And today we're joined by Derek Davis, vocalist Derek Davis. You know him best from the band Babylon A.D. They had a hit in the early 90s with a song called Bang Go the Bells. I remember that one vividly. There was a few other tracks, Hammer Swings Down, and a couple others that followed. And then there was a follow-up album called Nothing Sacred, I believe, in 92. Band took a long hiatus, but Derek stayed very busy in a number of projects. He tells us about those today. A bunch of varied projects, if I say so myself. I mean, he did a blues type thing, a southern rock type thing, a soul type thing. So he talks to us a little bit about all of that today.
And those are all available, which is great. Those are things that he's recorded and since released, whether they sat on a shelf for a little while or not. He's been he had the energy to put back into them later on if they didn't see the light of day. He's made sure that everything he's done is available now, which I think is really smart. And sounds to me like it's another pandemic story, like busy. Oh, damn, what am I going to do? Right. So, in the pandemic, it's not, once you figure out like, oh, I'm stuck here, I better use my time wisely. It sounds like a lot of musicians did the same thing. And he's no different. I related with Derek quite a bit today in the stories he told. And I'll leave those for listeners and people watching to hear in the episode we did with Derek today. Yeah. But really cool. Real quick, I saw Babylon A.D. and you did as well in respective clubs in San Antonio and Austin. And they were one of those. I still probably could put them into what I usually call the class of '89. Yeah. They probably got their deal in 88, 87, 88, and the record, came out in late 89 or 90. I bet they recorded it in 89 or something, and then it came out in 90. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it was released in 90, so back up from there.
Yeah, so, that sounds right. Anyway, super cool guy, very, very busy, calling us in from the Bay Area today.
We should mention also that Babylon A.D. has a new live album out right now. It's called Live Lightning. It's a compilation of a couple of gigs that were recorded around 2014, 2016, I think he said.
Pre-pandemic, he had them sitting around.
Yeah, and so you can look for that. That's available now, a live album, Babylon A.D. It's called Live Lightning, and they just signed a deal with Frontiers Records, so they are currently in the process of writing a studio record. So that'll be on the horizon here.
The live record's on Paris Records, but he did say that you can pretty much get any information and even purchase from babylonad.com, derekdavismusic.com as well. So, and he mentions that again if you didn't get a pen and write it down. But really cool guy, man.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Derek Davis today on the Talk Louder podcast.
Well, welcome. We're glad you're here and looking forward to hearing your story.
What do you want to
do? You mentioned the new album. Why don't we just kick it off with that? Tell us a little bit about the new album, where people can find it, any tour plans.
Yeah. So the new album started with a phone call from Paris Records, Tom Mathers, and just asked me if I had anything, or if we were doing anything or looking to do a new album or everything. So it kind of started with a conversation like that because we were in the studio at the time, writing new material, rehearsing and shit like that. And so I told him, I said, I do have 3 gigs that were recorded a couple of years ago, a few years back, And I said, maybe we could put something out and kind of just put the buzz buzz out that Babylon A.D is back again, and use that as kind of like a launching board for the new album, for the new studio album. So that's kind of like how that came about.
And the new album's called Live Lightning.
Yeah, Live Lightning. So it's a combination of a couple different shows. We basically took the best tracks. You know how it is. Sometimes you might have a great song, but it sounds like shit.
Right.
You might have one gig that sounds great, and another gig that sounds like crap.
Right.
So we had to choose from actually 3 different gigs, and nailed down to basically nailed down to two shows really, where the track sounded really super good.
When were they recorded?
One was recorded at in Concord at a place called Vinny's. Another place was called Swiss Park Hall in Newark.
What year? What time frame?
You're talking about 2018, 2017.
Okay.
COVID hit. I've just had all this shit, the wave tracks on my computer since the sound guy gave them to me, and I never really even listened to the tracks until I talked to Tom over at the Paris Records, and I started listening. I said, "Wow, shit, man, these things sound good,"
Yeah. So those are fairly recent recordings then. So
pre-pandemic, I mean, that was kind of the last hurrah without us knowing.
Yeah.
It was the last hurrah. I think.
Yeah.
Not to make it be about me, but I released 2 or 3 live records that were recorded in like between January and March of 2019.
Yeah.
If not January of 2020. And luckily had a video crew and had them recorded to hard drive.
Yeah.
That's what I think a lot of people ended up doing. And yeah, it did hold you over, whether you were planning on having that be the plan or not. It held you over until your next song or your next recording studio,
Who's in your band now?
Well, everybody's the same players.
Okay.
We're not sure if Jamie, the drummer, he might not play with us on the road when we hit the live stuff, just because he's got so many commitments and everything, and he's got a lot of stuff going on.
Right.
So we might have another drummer play with us when we do the live stuff. But other than that, everybody's the same.
Where are you in the writing process? You mentioned this live album is sort of a springboard to sort of announce that the band is back, and then follow it up with a studio record. Where are you in the writing process with that?
Well, we've demoed probably about 8 songs, and I'd say out of that batch, there's probably 4 of them that are really super good. You know how it is. You think you got something great, then you demo it and you're listening, you're going, that song's really not that great. So
you're keeping it real by that. That takes experience, doesn't it? For you to be able to listen to your new baby that you just wrote, and you think so highly of it, and then later on you give it a second thought and you're like, this doesn't need to go out there.
You're right, Jason. It's kind of funny because you know the process. You're writing the song, you think it's great, you put it down, but if you walk away and you come back about 2 weeks later and listen to it, then that's when it gives you a really like, hey, wait a minute now. I thought that song was good. It's not that good, right?
Well, and sometimes and this, sometimes it can be the lyric that you the singer are uncomfortable. It's like, what the hell was I thinking? What was I talking about? It could be, and it's just not. It's so dirty that you're like, am I gonna want to sing this every night? And if it's not worth singing every night, then it shouldn't go on the record.
Exactly. Yeah.
But a lot of young bands don't realize that this actually becomes your process, because I remember being a teenager and starting to try to write songs and thinking they were the greatest things in the world, and then thinking back or listening back, wow, we actually played that live. We forced people to listen to that,
Yeah.
And it hurts. And so and to finish the thought, it's like I've had young and old, whatever, relative ages, yeah, man, me and my band, we wrote 100 songs, man. We have 100 songs. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of work. And then I say, let me ask you a question. How many of them are good?
Yeah.
And you know exactly where that's going already. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the timeline on the new album? When might we see it?
Yeah. So we're trying to have that out by this time next year, February, March of next year, we want to, like we were just talking about, we don't want to put out no turd. So we're just making sure that we got the right songs. The good thing about it is I write, John Matthews and Ron, they both write, music,
Mm-hmm.
So they've always got something they could give me that I can toy around with and kind of make a song, you know what I mean? Make it into a song. I'll usually have them at least give me like 2 parts to a song. Like give me a really cool riff and then maybe the chorus part, or maybe they might think it's a chorus, but I'm hearing it as a bridge and I'll make my own chorus up to it or whatever. You know what I mean?
I always find that interesting that whenever, same process, one of my guys will give me what's almost like a complete song. It'll have 2 or 3 parts.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing as a verse, they're calling it the chorus or the bridge or something. And like,
absolutely.
No, the hook that I want to sing is over this part. So,
happens all the time.
I've seen it happen 100 times, and they go like, "What are you doing? That was the verse," and I'm trying to make it a chorus. And
yeah, well, if you're the lyric writer and you're the guy writing the melody, you know where the strongest part is. You know where it's at, right? It's not really the guitar player that knows the strongest part. You know where it's gonna,
right. Or if the guitar player has a vocal melody that they're hearing on top, or just another melody that could be whatever. It could be piano for all I care, but they hear something that's counter, and working joyfully with what they've got underneath it. At that point, it would be good for me to entertain their idea, just to say that I did, at least to give it something a chance.
Yeah, you don't want to shut them out,
No, but at the same time, back to kind of what you were saying, it's like your gut feeling and whatever is the hook that comes to you. Usually the first thing, I for myself anyway, first thing I come up with, probably just melody before lyric, because I can always sing, Scooby-Doo and yada da and la la la, right? Dummy words until I get the right thing. And that's the first thing, I'll try 5 things, and it's usually the first thing, that gut feeling that you go back to, I feel like.
I agree 100% on that. Usually I could tell whenever I'm getting songs, outside songs from, somebody else, the music, if I don't feel it by the second time I hear the song, I'm just, then you're just working and it's really not, you got to hear it and go, oh, wow, man, I did that. I'm going to work on that,
It's interesting that we're talking about this, because when you force it, like this exact moment you just described, when you're forcing a vocal thing on top of something just to make, the band happy because they worked hard on that, 2.5 minute jam that they gave to you to turn into a song with lyrics. And you're like, next. Next. They can give you 100 songs and you turn in 5, and they're like, dude, what about the rest? It was killer shit on there. I was like, all right, well, you sing on it then. Because if it's not inspiring you to come up with anything, it shouldn't be work.
Yeah,
and sure, you can always go back, right? Have you ever felt that way and then gone back and listened to something, gave it a second chance, and then felt something on top of it and actually came out pretty good? That's happened to me. I was wondering.
I was going to say, it does happen. It does happen from time to time. I'll always give the song, like right now, I've got three songs that are guitar parts, and they'll usually have the drum machine, whatever, and maybe they'll lay down the bass. But I got kind of like an idea of what the song's going to be, And if I don't hear it the first time, I'll give it maybe like 2 or 3 days later, listen to it again. Then I might give it a week or something. That's kind of where I'm at right now with 3 songs. And I hear certain parts like, man, if I could just take this one piece out of this song, just this pre-hook or whatever is really cool, but the rest of the song is, you know what I mean? So sometimes you're just working with one part of a song that's only 15 seconds long, what those guys thought was just like an intro piece to something else. And you're like, no, that's the hook right there, you know?
Yeah. How was your band's reaction when I've already said it, but when they work, they put some time into,
well, you know what's really cool, man?
Some riffage together for you, and then you come back and go, yeah, I mean, about half of that was workable. The other stuff's not really.
We've been playing together for so long, man, that everybody basically trusts my instinct, and it's a good feeling to know that nobody goes, "What the fuck you're talking about, man?" That I really like, like you said before. Well, then you sing the lyrics, man, because I don't hear it, But that never happens with us. It really doesn't, man. They basically kind of trust my instincts, of if it's going to be any good or not, Do
you feel like this is this is not like a diss or throwing rocks at anyone who writes music or songs or riffs or lyrics or anything, creates art. But do you feel like a rock and roll song, try to give some parameters here, do you feel like it should be more about, let's just aim for the bullseye, a Babylon A.D. song. Is it more important about the vocal hook or is it the guitar riff?
If I know for a fact I'm writing for Babylon A.D., because I write a lot of different types of songs, man.
Sure.
Especially for myself, really. I just, but Babylon A.D. is like on the train tracks of one lane. So you got to stick within those parameters. You got two guitar players that are very distinct guitar players, and they have they're different ways of writing songs. One guy uses more minor chords, the other guy uses more major chords, but somehow together when they're playing, it works. You know what I mean? And when they give me material, sometimes it sounds really heavy, big A, G, D, or whatever. And the other guy's writing this really melodic George Lynch kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So I stay in those parameters, and I'm always thinking, like, to be honest with you, I'd say 75% of the time, man, I'm looking for the big hook, the big hammer swings down or whatever, something that's like, okay, that's the hook. Now, if I've got the melody first, like you said, you write the melody first a lot of times, because if you got the good melody, you're like, oh, yeah, okay, you got a good melody. This sounds like it could be singable. Now I got to just shape the lyrics into that. And then I'm looking for the chorus. As soon as I know what the chorus and the song is about, then I write the lyrics around what that is. That's 9 times out of 10 for me.
So you think it's more the hook of the chorus, or at least get you going on a verse melody before it's the guitar riff?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes sometimes the guitar riff is it's really not it's not maybe that catchy, but there's just rhythm guitar. Like, let's say the Scorpions, there's not a lot of licks on the Scorpion stuff, but it's a lot of chords, when you listen to their songs, that kind of thing. So for me, if there's an extra hook, a guitar hook, like how we had Bangle the Bells was just a great guitar lick all by itself. If you can get one of those and have it in the song, I think most people gravitate to the chorus. They want to sing, at least for our generation, right?
Right. Don't bore us. Get to the chorus.
Yeah.
Right. I've stolen that, by the way.
That's good.
That's Steven Tyler talking.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, the demon of screaming. Don't bore us. Get to the chorus. Yeah,
okay, that's good.
You mentioned Bango the Bells, and I remember that song on the radio and the video on MTV, and your self-titled debut album came out in 1990. So you came out just as the tides were starting to turn. But you did have some success with that record and especially that song. What were some of the most memorable touring moments when you were out and you were sort of on top of the world for that period of time?
Yeah, it's kind of like a rocket ship, right? You ride that sucker up straight, and then next thing you know, you're like, hey, wait a minute, I think we're coming back down now.
Yeah.
I know all about it.
What were some of the peaks for you then?
Well, I think really the peaks personally for me was things like having, like, not speaking about touring, but like having like Clive Davis call me up and I'm at home And he says, hey, I want you to come to New York. I want you to sit in on some A&R meetings with me. And I'm like, huh? Those kind of things are like my memories of like, wow. And I go, and he flies me to New York, and he did about 2 or 3 times where it's like, I'm like an A&R guy. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? I'm listening to Jeff Healey songs and fucking, Whitney Houston songs and helping him. And he's asking me instead of the A&R guys. So Derek, what do you think about this or whatever, And those kind of memories are like really cool to me. You know what I mean? Of course, you guys know how it is on the road, man. It's fucking half mayhem, I mean, at least it was for us. Every night was like, as soon as we're done with our hour and 15-minute set, it's just mayhem, And then you're like, oh shit, the fucking sun's coming up. What am I going to do? I got to go to bed, man.
Yeah, copious amounts of party materials and nowhere to go. Except for another hour and 15 the next night.
And as a singer, you're like, oh shit, man, I got to try to save my voice somehow. And I just drank 8 beers tonight, and I got, another 8, your voice starts getting hoarser and hoarser and hoarser.
Yeah.
Like, man, I need a day off of just doing nothing but drink some tea,
Mm-hmm.
You guys know, man, it's just, it was especially back in our day when it was really going good, when you're on the bus and every night, as soon as a club's over with, it's like, all right, only chicks on the bus. That was our rule anyways. We didn't have any guys on the bus because there was 10 of us already, you know what I mean? Including the bus driver and the road crew and the sound guys. So we didn't need any more guys. So our rule was no dudes on the bus unless they're like a promotional guy.
You got bigger balls than me. I don't think I wanted anyone on the bus. I wanted the bus to myself. I didn't want anyone on the bus. I'm done. I need a moment. You guys fuck off. Yeah, but no, I know what you mean. That's back when you were in your 20s. I get that. Yep.
Did you do any big arena tours as an opening act? Did you go out with some majors?
Well, it was the weirdest thing, man. We were signed with the William Morris Agency, and their feeling was we should headline every show, theater, clubs, or whatever. And then if something really big, like we thought we were going to do an Aerosmith tour, and it was all next thing I know, we weren't. We don't know why, but it was, one of those kind of things. And their whole thing was, and our management, even the record company was like, no, you guys are just going to go out and do theater stuff, and you're going to build an audience like we used to in the old days. This is what they tell us, and you're going to be the headliner all the time. And so that's what it was for us. We did the theaters and the clubs and things like that, that were big back in the day,
Yeah.
But we never really did any Coliseum stuff. We did one-off gigs and things like that, and we did a lot of festivals and everything like that. But I don't know if that whole thing worked where it was just like we're always the headliner. You know what I mean? I think I'd rather go out with an Aerosmith or shit, whoever it might be. AC/DC, whatever. It doesn't matter. Whoever.
I have a lot of friends who are big fans, and I saw you guys in Austin.
Oh yeah,
probably 90. I bet it was 90. I saw you guys at the back room.
Oh yeah, the back room. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I still got a good memory to remember that name.
Yeah,
I think I saw you at Sneakers in San Antonio.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Sound right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It was either probably the night before or the night after Austin.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What was that one in Baltimore? Hammer
Jacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a good venue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we played there quite a few times.
So you went prior to 2014. You were on a pretty extended hiatus. What were you doing during that time? I know you're a busy guy and you're a songwriter and you've worked with other people, but tell us, during that off time from Babylon A.D. until this recent reactivation, how were you keeping busy?
I'm just always writing, man, and always putting out material and stuff like that. I did a project with Buzzy James and Craig DeFalco and Mike Malone called Moonshine. Mm-hmm. And we did that at Eddie Van Halen's house, the 5150 Studios. We thought that was going to explode, and Michael Anthony was helping us with everything, producing and things like that. So we kind of thought that was going to, I really did think that was going to be the next big thing for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you know how things go, man. We started playing a lot of big gigs and started, really the momentum started going, and labels started coming out and seeing us. And then we just, boom, just crashed, fell apart,
Wow.
So I had the tapes and I sat on them for about 3 or 4 years. And I called the guys. I go, man, everyone that's ever heard the demos loves this shit, you know? So is it cool just to put it out? We'll put it on a small label. And they said, fuck yeah, do it. I mean, it's just going to sit in the vault if we don't. But it was like the Allman Brothers meet Leonard Skinner over at Aerosmith's first 2 albums house or something.
Wow.
Really cool, man. Harmonica, piano, slide guitar, badass, and really, really cool shit. But, you know, no major label support or anything like that. It was just, we had it sitting around. So that was one of the major things that I did.
Yeah.
Also,
was Michael Anthony part of this? He was playing bass and...
No, he wasn't playing bass. He was basically kind of managing and producing us and stuff.
Okay.
And all our gigs, he'd show up and play bass. He sang on the record with Jane Child. She sang on the record and played piano. Wow. You know, so I mean, it was a pretty cool fucking project. And Eddie gave us a studio for free. Man, pay no money or do shit. Wow. So I kind of thought, hey man, this is the next cool step. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it just the band, you know, people just started fucking. You know how it goes, man.
So did you release it? Is it available?
Yes, it's out. It's called Moonshine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I have to look for that. That sounds great.
It is cool, man. You guys would dig it if you like that first Aerosmith album, you know.
Yeah.
And
well, someone who doesn't like old Smith they're dead.
They're not watching this show.
Yeah, they're not alive in their brain. They don't have a heart. They're a zombie. They don't know.
I think the first 2 Aerosmith albums are fucking up there with the best of anything, you know.
Sure.
Oh,
the first 4 or 5.
Yeah,
you know,
first 4 or 5.
Kind of a Bible of American rock, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that you also you've done something called what is it? American Blues Box? Is that right?
So I put that out around the same time. I'm about a year later or something like that as I did the Moonshine. Because I play guitar too, you know, sing, you know, just like you guys do all that stuff. But I was so blown away by Buzzy James's guitar playing that I said, "Fuck, I'm gonna start learning how to play slide guitar." So I watched a lot of Elmore James and listened to a lot of Son House and a lot of, you know, the authentic blues guys, and I started getting really good, man. You know, a lot of G tuning and D tuning open and stuff like that. And so I wrote a whole album, but I put that out. And my drummer, Jamie, who you know, it's Babylon A.D, played on it with me, you know. And then I put another one out a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago. I put another blues album out called Resonate Blues.
Can they get these blues albums from Paris or?
No, they're out. They're out. Yeah,
on your own label or?
Yeah, Apocalypse Records.
What's it called?
Apocalypse Records.
Apocalypse. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're on all digital platforms as well.
They're on all digital platforms, yeah. Yeah. And then last year I put out, or 2 years ago, I put out a really cool album, man, called Revolutionary Soul. And I listened to like a lot of Bobby Womack and James Brown, Al Green, Marvin Gaye. And I just got into that kind of stack sound, kind of, you know, with and I just started, you know, it's almost kind of like a Dan Reed network a little bit, you know, but maybe less guitar. You know, there's some lead guitar, things like that for the rock and roll guys, but mainly, man, it's really it's a soul album. People that have heard it, and all the critics and stuff like that got magazine coverage for it and stuff like that, they were like blown away, like holy shit, and I was too. But the problem was when I put that out. So I guess it was about 4 years ago now. When I put that out, Babylon A.D. all of a sudden got offered a deal by Frontiers, right? So I put that out, I think, in March, and then Babylon A.D.'s album came out in November. So I never really had a chance to even promote it because I was busy producing the Babylon A.D. new album. It was basically throw that record out, and like 2 weeks later, we get a deal with Frontiers, and it's like, oh shit, I better start working on the Babylon A.D. album.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, it kind of sucked, man, because I really do feel like Revolutionary Soul is my best record, but you know.
Well, I want to pick your brain about this. What would you have done different, and how deep would have you gone for the Revolutionary Soul as far as promotion and shows, and how much time would you have put into it that you would have done different? You know, hey Frontiers, I just put out a record. Hey Babylon guys, I'm going to do this for X amount of months, weeks.
that's what I should have did, man. To be honest with you.
What do you think goes in, what would you have done different? It's kind of a lark question, but.
Well, you know, I would have tried to promote it more. I would have made some videos or something. I would have, you know, got more publicity for it and things like that, and let more people know about it. But
not too late. Not too late to do that.
Well, the record's 5 years old. I know it isn't it weird. It's like the record's 5 years old, but if nobody's heard it, what the hell? You could almost like do it again since nobody's heard it.
Not too late. During the pandemic, I mixed and released an unreleased album in the middle of the pandemic that was 20 years old.
Wow.
It was called Godzilla Motor Company.
And if you dig it, what the hell, right? I mean,
well, the band just like played, recorded 17 songs, and then broke up. And that was 20 years
like
ago.
The Moonshine thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So it never, I mean, there was CDRs, and people would give us $5 for a CDR at a show and buy a shirt or, you know, stupid stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And they reveled in it and they loved it. So it was this kind of like, low key cult following of this that got real excited when we put that out in the pandemic, because there was no live shows or anything at all, especially from this band that was 20 years old. So
yeah,
it's never too late. You can crank something back up that a lot of people have, if they've never heard it, you know,
it's brand new to their ears.
Right. So you mentioned the deal with Frontiers. So was Babylon A.D. already sort of reactivated and then word got out and then Frontiers came calling, or did Frontiers come calling out of the blue and that was the incentive to get the band up and running again?
No. So we were playing after 2014. We were playing again. We did a couple of, Monsters of Rock gigs, and we did a lot of festivals and stuff like that, and a lot of club one-offs, things like that. So we were definitely active, and we were writing material. And I think the closer we got to being done with it getting to where we were starting to get in the mixing stages, I'm not sure exactly how they heard about it, but somehow they heard about it. And I got an email from one of the guys in the States that's like one of their A&R guys. And he got a hold of me and said, "Hey, I heard you guys are putting a new record out. Can we hear some of it?" So, I put together some quick mixes, 3 or 4 songs. I sent it to them. They said, "Yeah, we want to, we want to promote this and sign you guys to a deal." So we started, finishing up that record and everything like that. And that was, like I said, the same time I just put out the damn Revolutionary Soul.
Yeah. Timing. So is the deal with Frontiers, is it a multi-record deal, or are you just starting with the one and we'll see how it goes?
Oh, so we put that out. And we did 4 videos for it. But Frontiers, man, they got 100 bands,
Yeah.
They may give you 3 weeks or 4 weeks, man, and it's not the same as it was back in the day when radio was supporting this kind of stuff and everything like that.
Yeah, it's still an independent release, and it's usually a 1 album deal. If it does really, really well, they're going to want to renegotiate, of course. That's how that goes.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's nice to, and this sounds kind of crappy of me to say, but it's always nice when you're a band that's been kind of like somewhat inactive, and then all of a sudden, or hell, you're busy just doing multiple things, and then somebody wants to give you the money to make a record. Exactly. Using someone else's money out of the blue to do something is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's cool, especially when you get the advance and you're like, "Oh, right, good. At least I got the money,"
Yeah, and with home recording now, that because like I don't even have to say it. The deals that you got back in the day do not exist anymore. No. So whatever measly, $2-3 grand, if you're even lucky these days, I'll say from my experience, to get files together, because you can record it in your bedroom. I record worldwide releases sitting in this chair.
Wow.
Because you can.
I'm sitting in this chair.
Right. See, same.
Right here.
Same. And it doesn't cost you anything. So
just your
you got
time.
a microphone. Can you produce a WAV file? You can make a record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dig it, man. I'm in here all the time. I'm like all the time.
It sounds like your ass is glued to the chair in there.
Pretty much. I got actually 3 stools. I got to jump around, bounce around. If I'm playing guitar, I got to get out of this one because it's got this.
Well, what I'm saying is, it sounds like you're what I like to call busy enough. You know, like when people, Jason, how you doing, man? What are you working on? Well, I call it busy enough. If I were any busier, I would have to stop doing a bunch of stuff that I like what I'm doing right now. I'd have to stop and go, kind of like what you had to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm busy enough. If something crazy happens, Dave gets a phone call. Sorry, we can't tape the podcast anymore. I've got to leave town. You know.
Yeah. He's off to front accept or something like that. So
weird things happen.
Yeah. So you've got a Babylon A.D. album in the works currently. So what do you, as a vocalist at age whatever you are today, what do you?
I like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Well,
we're probably about 35 myself.
Yeah. We all
you
feel
look great
the same.
For 21.
But what do you, as a lyricist and a musician, what do you want Babylon A.D. to say in 2024 versus what you were, what was fodder for songs in 1990?
This is a great question.
Ooh, that's kind of a tough question too, because you're kind of pigeonholed a little bit because of your fans, right? They're expecting what they want to hear. But at the same time, I know, man, I'm a way better lyricist and way better singer than I was then. You know what I mean? It's obvious when I write a song, when I sing a track, it takes me just 2 or 3 takes maybe to sing a track, and I'm done in about 20 minutes. They used to take me a fucking half a day to sing a song back in the day. Just because you want your pitch perfect and you want a little raspiness here or whatever, you know what you're looking for in your head, or you're working with a producer that doesn't have the headphones right. And you're like, geez, man. But when you have your own recording studio and everything like that, it's a lot easier, because you figure everything out. You're like, okay, all I do is press the button and I'm good every time.
Well, you know better than anyone else what the fuck you're supposed to sound like.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
It might take a whole career for you to figure out how to do it on your own with no one else in the room.
I think it took a long time, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, but now I got that shit down. You know what I mean?
Me too. Yeah.
I like your answer. I like the idea that you recognize that to a degree you have to sort of deliver what the fans are expecting from all the way back in 1990.
What I don't like is when they expect you, it's 2024 and you've got a gig and they just watched your video from 1989 and they're going to the show and they're going, when are the guys in Babylon A.D. going to walk out and take the stage? It says Babylon A.D. on the wall, Babylon A.D. on the wall out there, but who the fuck are these guys? When you don't look like you did, that's one thing. And then the other thing is like your newer material, if you have new material, and this goes to Dave's question. I'm holding both of you guys to it, the question and the answer, because I feel this. I know exactly like the things that you wrote about when you were 22. Yeah. At your now you're 21. Yeah. Sorry, you're.
I know what you mean.
You've got some years on you now. I'll just say we don't know how old you are. So.
Yeah.
Do you feel, Dave's question was, do you feel comfortable writing about,
I don't put any lyrics in there like, yeah, she's so high with the black, stockings and blah, blah. I don't write that kind of shit no more. You know what I mean? I'm not going to pretend that like I'm 20 years old anymore. The lyrical content, it's still in my mind. I always try to make it like kick ass kind of lyric, that I don't know, man. It's just, okay, so for instance, there's the titles of some of the songs I think that are really cool that we're going to be on the record. There's one called Wrecking Machine, and it's a badass tune. There's one called Sucker for Me, which is a really cool groove and hammer swings down kind of song. And then we've got one called Looking for a Heartbeat. And I'd say Looking for a Heartbeat is the track that would be the most singing about a girl and love and stuff like that.
Okay.
Looking for a heartbeat, baby.
I like the take on the heartbeat because, it's a throwback in a way, because when you're young and dumb and looking to fuck anything, all you need is a heartbeat. I'll fuck anything with a heartbeat. That's what it kind of sounds like on the surface, but your lyric, because of where you are, I mean, you're a fucking grown ass man. We're grown ass men now, and I know that we can't write about, chasing ass. I don't
Jason,
write about chasing ass.
Yeah, I don't really write about that anymore either.
Yeah, it's not. Your libido, you have a libido. I'm lucky to have one, but it's not really the premise of my music.
No.
As to where, when you're young and dumb, that's kind of what one-track minds seem to rule. So
I have heard some bands in the last few years. I'm not going to say who, but when I'm listening to their lyrics and they're, they got a brand new album out, let's just say, and you're like, well, listen to that. You're like, what's he talking about? He's singing like he's talking like he's 16 years old still or something. This guy's as old as me. This is corny. To me, it's fucking corny as shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
This is exactly why I asked, and I asked not only from the perspective of age and wisdom and maturity, but also your other vocal influences, because you just got done telling us about Moonshine, American Blues Box, and then you've got the soul record. So I would imagine that's a different vocal approach. So not only then it does age and maturity sort of factor in, but maybe some of your other vocal approaches factor in as well. And that's kind of where I was going with that question.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit that right on the head, Dan.
It's almost like when you're young back then, and you're young and dumb and crazy, and don't know shit, and it's you against the world. It's not your fault, you can go crazy and you can sing about being crazy, but you better be careful if that's like a huge hit that sells millions and millions of records, because you're going to sing about chasing ass for the rest of your life.
Right.
Well, that's so funny that you say that, because we had a song on our second album. It was called Psychedelic Sex Reaction that I wrote with, who did I write that with? Randy Jackson and Jack Pawnee. And I hated the fucking title and the lyrics, right? Psychedelic sex reaction, dun, 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 you know what I mean? The music was really cool, but the lyrics were just so corny. And I had to write the fucking lyrics with the A&R guy in the fucking room, because he wanted it so, so poppy and so this. And it was the weirdest experience I ever had, man, writing lyrics, because it's like they weren't even really my lyrics. I would just say, how about this line? And he'd go, oh, that's a good line. And I'm scratching my head. I'm talking like for a couple days, man. And this song was cornball.
Did you fly out to Tom's River, New Jersey to do that at Jack's place?
Other songs I did with Jack.
Okay.
But
I've written at Jack's place before.
Yeah. Let me finish this real quick.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Fucking song. He loved this song, Psychedelic Sex Reaction.
Yeah.
We go out on the road and they made these boxes with all these, the record company made up all these boxes for promo with psychedelic rubbers in them and all kinds of how to have sex and all this shit. And they sent it to all the radio stations, right? And we're in Chicago at the Thirsty Whale, I think it was. And fucking our manager comes on the bus and he goes, the record company spent like $100,000 to this is like the day of the show. He tells us this. And we have all these record company and radio station guys coming out, flew out from all over the country. They're going to watch you guys play Psychedelic Sex Reaction. And we all look at each other and we went like, what the fuck? Because we recorded the song just because Clive Davis told me, if you don't record this song, I ain't putting out your record. He literally told me that, So, but the guys in the band, when we record the song, we put our hands in a pot and we all go, we vow we will never play this song live ever. And you're just like 8 months later, we're out on the road and they tell us, this is your next single. We got a video treatment coming. And we're like, what? So, we hadn't played the song except for the making the record, in the studio. And we got on stage and we didn't play the song. We said, fuck it. I'm telling you, that was like one of the biggest mistakes we ever made, because after that, the record company said, fuck you guys on the bus. You guys are in a Winnebago.
Wow.
That is a great story. That's a great story.
That's kind of punk rock.
That's hilarious. So
if I may, and I apologize for interrupting your answer, because obviously it was fueled. So the song that me and Mike Watson from the Toys went to Jersey and wrote with Jack Ponte was Gypsy Black and Blue Valentine on the second Toys record. And there's so many people that love that song.
Yeah, a lot of people love that.
We were pretty much forced to put that song on the record. And we also had maybe played it once in rehearsal, and we were all kind of like, had the like who farted look on our face while
exactly.
And we same thing, Derek. We just vowed to never play it live. And every once in a while there's a hardcore fan that loves that asks for it, and you just can't, it's like, I don't know the lyrics to that anymore.
Yeah, I don't want to know the lyrics to that.
We recorded it and split. It was kind of like, God damn it. So I feel your pain. Sometimes you find yourself doing those things, and you know how you said the record label spent like $100,000 in promo stuff, and it wasn't even like the vibe of the band at all.
No,
it was kind of off your radar by choice, and they show up and going, all right, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And you were fuck you, and they were fuck you, and that's $100,000 that you didn't have any say so at all in
really
where they were going to spend it.
Right? We really paid for it.
Right. That's hilarious.
Really scary. Yeah, really scary reality, and a huge lesson for us all.
Yeah. That's a great story, man. I
can relate, dude. There's a lot of sort of parallels in what you're talking about today.
It's kind of like Spinal Tap out there, right?
Yeah.
So many moments that I could remember from Spinal Tap, or maybe getting on stage going like, hey, how the fuck you doing, Houston? Everybody goes, what the fuck? You're in Dallas, you dumb shit. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Because, you're just going like a fucking rabbit,
Yeah.
That shouldn't hurt anybody's feelings by calling them, hey, Houston, and you're in, Nova Scotia.
Yeah, right.
I think this is all very interesting, the perspective, because, when you're 20 years old and you get into this, you think it's going to last forever, and you really only worry about the current album and the next album. You don't imagine yourself being 60 years old singing about chasing girls or that sort of thing. And then lo and behold, it happens and you have to live with it. And, we had Tracy Guns on the show recently, and he was joking that, it's almost sometimes embarrassing to have to get on stage and play Sex Action at his age. And then Jason's like over there going, yeah, well, what about me? I got to sing Sportin' a Woody, and these two guys never imagined that they would still be doing these songs all these years later,
I think what would have been with the worst was, like, I talked to Janie one time, and he hated fucking, what was that, cherry pie.
Yeah.
That would have been the worst. Can you imagine being right now? She's my cherry pie.
Well, the version of Warrant that's out there now still has to do it.
Yeah.
It has to do it. Yeah, you have to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's exactly hitting home to what we're talking about here. So
yeah. Derek, tell us how did you get hooked on rock and roll? What was the record, the concert, the moment you saw someone on TV and said, that's what I want to do for a living?
I think I was about maybe 9 or 10 years old, I think I was I started playing drums when I was 11, but the Monkees, when I seen fucking Mickey Dolenz singing and playing drums, I go, I want to be just like that guy.
Wow.
Of course I knew about the Beatles and the Stones, but for some reason, man, I wanted to be like Mickey Dolenz. And the funny thing is I met that guy and hung out with him a couple times in my life. And it was like, wow, man, I'm hanging out with Mickey Dolenz, and all the stories you heard about him, like in the 60s and stuff like that, whenever everybody was hanging out with him, his place at what was in the canyon when all the parties were at his house and everything like that. I don't know, man. I just thought he was the coolest dude. So of course I started playing drums and I wanted to sing. And then as soon as I found out that the money was made by writing songs, I was like, fuck that. I'm gonna learn how to write songs.
Yeah.
Instead of just playing drums, I said, I'll switch over to guitar and I'll be the front man. These are just things you go through when you're a kid, right?
Right.
Of course.
Yeah, it's interesting when you figure out, and it sounds like you figured it out fairly early enough that you can't really write a melody, can't write a song on a drum kit.
Mm-hmm.
You can write a groove on a drum kit, that can influence the guitar player to play something with the phrasing that the drummer's got.
Yeah.
Singer, same. Keys, whatever, same. But that's influencing the rhythm patterns and phrasing of where the song is going to go. And the accents maybe that the drums are actually creating. But you would have to have some kind of, you know, really good tuning etiquette on your drum kit to play notes and go, check this riff out. You know, has to be notes, and drums aren't really notes.
Right.
They're tones, they're rung tones, right? Ring tones kind of a thing. So when people realize that, and people can agree to disagree with what I'm talking about here, but I feel like you're a songwriter and you kind of understood that early. Is like, I want to learn how to write a song. You said it yourself.
Absolutely.
But, you know, songs have drums. Some songs don't have drums. Okay, you're a drummer. What if there's a song that you're writing that you go, what would this sound like without drums? Well, hey, and the drummer goes, hey, wait a minute, I'm the drummer. What do you mean? What am I going to do during the song? You know, see what I mean? Yeah. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay, drummer, write a song. Let's talk about Neil Peart. Neil Peart wrote all the lyrics for Rush. Day one, joined the band, started writing lyrics.
How crazy is that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that I think you're the first guy we've had on the show that cited Mickey Dolenz as your first inspiration.
It is, but I think it's cool as shit.
I do too. We get a lot of people that go, you know, Kiss Alive. That was the gateway, or we saw Kiss on the Halloween special on TV, and that was it. You're the first guy that's mentioned the Monkees. I think that's really cool.
Well, wasn't Mickey Dolenz, and it could be another monkey, but was it Mickey Dolenz who was in the original Hollywood Vampires, which is basically a drinking club?
That's right.
That's
at the Rainbow. I think Mickey Dolenz was actually in that original drinking club.
Yes, he was.
Funny thing is, whenever the Monkees, I used to live with my grandmother when I was a kid. So when the Monkees came on stage or on the scene, you know, whatever it was, 66 or 67, whatever the hell that was. My grandmother goes, oh, I know that boy. And I go, you do? She goes, he used to be on a show called Circus Boy. He was a little kid in like this circus. It was a TV show. And he was about 10 years old, Mickey Dolenz, you know?
Wow.
And I remembered him. And that always stuck with me my whole life, you know?
Wow.
He was already like a childhood kind of star on TV. You know, he wasn't a great drummer or a great musician. He just a good actor.
Eric, aren't you isn't your band from the Bay Area?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you still live in Northern California?
Yes. Yep. Everybody does. Yeah.
Were you kind of a heavy metal punk going down to the shows and all that stuff in the early 80s when all of the big thrash scene was happening down there?
No.
Were you going down there and seeing, you know, Y&T and
I was definitely a Y&T fan. That's when I was in high school. And I'd be honest with you, I think seeing Dave Metachetti and Y&T when I was in high school, when I was a freshman, they came at lunchtime and they just released their first album.
Yesterday and Today. Yeah.
Yesterday and Today. Yeah. And man, that's still one of my favorite albums. This fucking kick-ass album, you know?
Yeah.
And as soon as I seen that, I was like, wow. I mean, I was playing guitar and I was starting to get pretty good and everybody was starting to recognize like, hey, you know, I'm writing songs and even 7th, 8th, 9th grade stuff. But when I seen them, I was like, wow, man, it just blew my world away where I would just like study. And then I started going to see Y&T whenever I can. And they played a lot of concert halls around here, veterans halls and things like that. You know, they're really big. I mean, they're playing with Journey and shit.
Yeah.
You know? And then next thing I know, I started like roadieing for these guys and stuff like that, you know?
Wow.
So I started kind of like that in the rock scene, you know?
So I want to back up. Did you say they showed up and played at your school during lunchtime?
Yep.
Wow.
Unreal.
That's awesome.
And this is with Leonard Hayes on drums, and Joey Alves on guitar, and Phil Kennemore, the original band.
Yeah. Original band, and they were fucking badass. Yeah. I mean, You know,
And
as years go by, you start knowing those guys, and I became a really good friend with Leonard. You know, and man, the stories Leonard had, oh my God, that guy could have wrote like 3 books, and you could have made a movie about his life.
He was taken too soon.
Way too soon.
Yeah.
You know, but crazy dude. Right before he passed, maybe about a year before he passed, he wanted me to join his band. But I got to be honest with you, man, it was just so sad watching his demise. You know, how he just kept getting sicker and sicker, and he'd had to have oxygen when he's playing and stuff.
Oh,
and he wasn't the same Leonard anymore, man. But I gotta tell you, man, when he was younger, when Yesterday and Today was kicking ass, I'd put him against Bonham or any of the best drummers in the world. That guy's foot was fast, man.
Yeah, he had the quickest right foot I had ever heard, besides Bonham.
Right.
My old band covered some old Y&T. Anyway, amazing drummer. That's amazing that you got to spend time and be part of the up and coming or Yesterday and Today's Bay Area rock scene. Was there any other bands that in your youth that you used to kind of follow that were from your stomping grounds?
There was a band called Next that was pretty good. Eric Martin band, they were called 415. You know, I really wasn't following them, but they played a lot of gigs that I went to, you know, and I liked Eric Martin's voice, you know.
Are you talking Mr. Big, Eric Martin?
Yeah.
We just saw him in Nashville. We just did a thing in Nashville, and he was a big player in that. The thing we were doing in Nashville.
With, Michael Shankner about a month ago or so.
Oh, cool.
Sacramento. Wow. Michael Shankner was on fire, man. I got to tell you, man. Jeez. Yeah. Great. That new singer that he's got, boy, that guy can sing. Yeah,
that guy's amazing. I think he's Chilean, South American.
Yeah, something remember. Like that. Yeah. He could sing, man.
Oh, he's amazing.
Who's he have singing with him now?
I can't remember the cat's name.
I don't remember his name either, but I was surprised because he's the best singer that I've seen Michael Shankner have in a while.
Yeah, wow. He's classic rock. He has some grit, you know, but he has excellent control. But he's like a Graham Bonnet and a Gary Barden rolled into one.
Wow. This isn't that guy Doogie something or other, is it? No. Okay.
Doogie White. No.
Okay.
Is that who you're thinking about?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. No. This is a younger cat.
Derek, I saw something on your bio. I think you have a side project called the Heavy 470s or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what me and Danny De La Rosa, who was in Babylon A.D. for, 30 years or whatever. So, yeah, and then we got the drummer, Marty Schuhart used to play with Greg Ken for about 11 years, and Ben Wong used to play with Montrose for a couple of years. And so it was just one of these kind of things where coming out of COVID, none of us were doing anything. And so I said, why don't we fucking put together a band of just shit we like, but we don't want to be a cover band. You know what I mean? And everyone around here in the Bay Area right now, the shit that's big is tribute bands. It's almost like you can't get a fucking show unless you're a tribute band.
Right.
So I said, okay, what if we put together a band, find a cool name, but we only play like Montrose, Aerosmith, Thin Lizzy, UFO, and that's it. Because that's the shit that we all grew up on or have, really that's my bread and butter.
Where do I sign up?
Yeah. So it was like, this is the shit that I liked when I was a kid. Let's just do that. And that's it. We'll be called the Heavy 470s. There's four guys in a band, 4 fucking groups, and that's it. And we've been leaving a mark, man. There's a lot of people coming out to all our shows now. And we could be kind of considered a tribute band.
Sure. Yeah. Have you ever seen the Butlers?
Yes, I have seen the Butlers. Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, because they're out there. They're your neighbors. Yeah.
They play some of the same joints that we play.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. And they kind of have that same vibe. They do Lizzy and Aerosmith and stuff like that.
And we're just keeping it to 4 bands though. We're not
sure. Okay.
We talked about maybe doing some Kiss or maybe we did a couple songs of Cheap Trick at the last gig just to see what would happen. And people were like, oh, this is great. But we don't really want to get into where we're just another cover band. You got to keep some kind of shtick where this is what you are. You know what I mean?
Right.
But now we've got like the Bone radio station out here. They're behind us on our gigs now, so that's good. Like, and they had heard of us. I got a phone call from the the program director last week, and I did an interview with them, and they were like, "You're in the Heavy 470s?" I said, "Yeah, man. Everybody's been talking about you guys." I said, "Oh, really?" So they're like, "Well, we want to start promoting all your shows." I said, "Okay,
Nice.
cool." They've got some shows that they're promoting. They're promoting some Babylon A.D. stuff when we come out in July. So it's good to have a radio station behind you. You know, if you got that, they're still playing classic rock.
Yeah.
But they have about, I think it's 20% of their playlist now. They can play other music. So they've been playing Babylon A.D. They've been playing other bands, Death Angel, maybe stuff like that.
Yeah.
Along with Journey, Led Zeppelin, you know.
Yeah.
Classics. So
yeah. Wow. That's awesome, man. You are a busy dude.
Yeah. It sounds like you've got a good life carved out there. That's you sound, to use my term, busy enough. You sound like you're handling it.
Totally busy enough, man. I'm having
Awesome.
a good time. And, you know, I can't believe that I'm still doing it, to be honest with you, all these years, man. You know, and it seems, what's weird to me is like, it gets better.
Yeah.
You know,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, well, some of that probably comes from the wisdom that I was talking about earlier. You're approaching it differently and more maturely now, and so yeah, it's going to be better because you know how to make it easier maybe for yourself. You know you've learned some lessons. You know the pitfalls to avoid. So yeah, it makes sense that it would. If you learned anything from all that, then it makes sense that today you would be.
I know guys that are around our age that they didn't learn shit. It doesn't look like nothing we did.
Yeah, they're hurting right now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're not one of them. It sounds
They're not hanging any moons. They're not shooting the moon. They're not aiming at the moon. They're going to bed early, you know.
Well, Derek, it sounds like you're really busy, and we appreciate you spending some time with us today and sharing your stories and telling us about all of your musical projects. People can look for a new Babylon A.D. record sometime in the future. Live Lightning, yes, the live album, Babylon A.D. live album is called Live Lightning. You can get that now. New studio album on the way in the future. And of course, all of Derek's other music, American Blues Box, Moonshine, and what was your soul project?
Revolutionary Soul.
Revolutionary Soul. Covering a lot of bases.
Derek, do you have a website that people can go to that's sort of an umbrella?
DerekDavisMusic.com, or they can go to BabylonAD.com. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Well, man, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. On behalf of my co-host, Jason McMaster, I'm Metal Dave Glessner, along with our special guest today, Derek Davis from Babylon A.D. on the Talk Louder podcast.